This video, we're going to be talking about Amazon's S3 storage service, and it is a super simple storage service. S3 is an object-based storage, right? So let me just highlight some of the things here that I want to point out within the paragraph here. So Amazon is an object-based storage that works by storing objects. So if you're storing, a JPEG file, if you're storing a PDF, if you're storing a database file, whatever it is that you're storing, I mean, just keep on going down the line, right? Even if you want to store RPMs, whatever you're storing, all of these things essentially become objects. So it's an object-based store. And what you'll do is you'll put all of these objects into what we consider a bucket. And these buckets, if you're thinking about a traditional file store, these buckets would be equivalent to a folder, right? So you store files in a folder, while in S3 storage, you put objects in a bucket. It's really the same exact thing, right? And you can store anything that you want within these buckets. Any objects that you want, anything that you put up there is essentially going to become an object. You can do anything from BDR files. So when I say BDR, that means backup data restore. So if you want to go and you want to actually back up files to S3, you can do that. In fact, many of you that follow a lot of the stuff that I do, you know that I deal with Cisco Secure Workload, formerly known as Titration. It's kind of my day job. And that's exactly what we do. When we configure a backup data restore within Cisco Titration or Secure Workload, whatever name you want to call it, we send this data up to S3, or you can have your own S3 block storage, on your on-prem, right? But you can use this for anything. You can use it for file archives, etc. One of the really cool things about S3 is it's so flexible that you can even use this for big data, right? So if you really wanted to, you could even run big data analytics across your objects, okay? You can use S3 to store database files. I'm trying to find more whiteboard space, right? And then if you really wanted to, you could use a service like Athena. We're not going to get into what that is here, but you can use a service like Amazon Athena to even query your S3 storage using standard SQL expressions if you want to. So we'll just say SQL expressions, right? So you can store database files in an S3 store as an object, and then you can use Athena to basically query those files. It can be used as a data lake if you want it to be, right? So this could be a data lake. Maybe it's a backend for a website. So you can have that website leverage the information you're keeping in that data lake. So it's an extremely durable and flexible storage system, okay? One of the things I actually really like about S3 is you can actually make it publicly accessible. So what I mean by that is a lot of times, you think about Dropbox, you think about OneDrive, you think about, Box, you think about all these different, online publicly addressable storage systems that we have. Well, S3 is just like that. It's really no different, where you store your file as an object. And again, this can be a JPEG. It can be an RPM file. It could be an executable. I could go on for file extensions forever, right? So you store that object. And then what happens is within that bucket that you create, you can make those objects, you can make various different components of this publicly addressable. And what happens is S3 will just give you a simple URL. And you can use that URL to do anything you want. You could do a wget from a Linux machine and pull down whatever file you have. It essentially becomes a web page that stores your files. And you can just simply pull them down. You can share that URL and you can pull down those files whenever, wherever you want. So it is a very, very cool. Now, one thing that I want you to be aware of are the different storage classes that you can have within S3. So if you scroll down, if you come to aws.amazon.com/S3, you're going to be at the same page that I'm on now. Again, I'm really big on showing you guys where to read through this info. If you scroll down, you're going to see that there are a number of different storage classes. And by the way, when I was mentioning before, some of the different services you can use when I was talking about Amazon Athena, they kind of point out all this information here, what you can actually do with S3. They even come down, if you scroll down the page, even walk you through some of the different features that you would want, or maybe that you would want to enable or use, etc. So it's really flexible again. But one of the things you're going to want to know are the different storage classes that you have, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But I want to point out that you're going to want to be familiar with these. So again, if you think about having a general purpose or just, your standard S3 storage, that's going to give you your 99.9% uptime. That's going to give you the ability to replicate your storage across different availability zones. Because again, it points it out right here that one of the reasons why S3 is so durable is because it's replicated across availability zones. It doesn't just live, in one spot. So you're going to have the standard. That's going to give you different options than your unknown or changing access, right? Which is what they call the intelligent tiering. Then you're going to have another one with infrequent access. That's going to be called your standard infrequent access. So you're going to have all these different tiers that essentially you can leverage within Amazon S3. So make sure that when you're doing this, you kind of want to pick the right one. This way you don't have to go and change things later. But highly encourage you guys to come in here, read through this information, and honestly, storage is a great place to start when you're leveraging the cloud. You can always go in, you can leverage S3, and you can just use it for some simple storage, some simple file storage. It's a really, really flexible and easy option for you to start moving